for me. It's called He Shole Can't Live With Me. That's the name of it. So back in February, one of my girlfriends shared a story time with me. Her baby dad is about to get kicked out of his apartment, and that meant he would have been kicked out at the end of February. So I was like, what's going on? Did he get kicked out? In this same story time, he keeps coming back every few months, trying to get with her, trying to make amends. He's also threatened to self delete. And she went off and told his parent. So here is the update. She sent me an update. She says, this is the update from He Shole Can't Stay With Me. She said, all right, so check it. Homeboy figured his rent situation out. He's still in his apartment, but my son doesn't go over as much. That little stunt made me jump into action. The stunt where he was talking about self-deletion. In my mind, anyone that threatens to take themselves out and does so to manipulate is not mentally well. Again, I am forgiving myself for even getting involved with this person. I'm on the tail end of that journey, but every once in a while, I ask myself, what the F was I thinking? Back to being mentally unwell. And because of this manipulation, I have to navigate his time with our son. She says, last week while out of town, he sent me a message about a frat brother that I don't care for. Without getting too deep into it, this person bumped into me in public and deems me trustworthy, and he, my baby daddy, was impressed. You should have seen my face. I wasn't trying to impress either person. I couldn't give less F's. Like, ain't no more F's to give. Anyway, he wanted us all to get together, as in the baby daddy, wanted us all to get together. And I said no. No explanation, just no. I've tried being friends with homeboy, my baby daddy, for the sake of our son, but would repeatedly see he attempts to use my kindness as a way to rekindle our relationship. Every few months, like clockwork, he sends a message pouring out his heart. And every time I tell him I am not interested and I just want to focus on our son. I've noticed this usually happens after I set a boundary of some sort. Seeing this, I've set up some restrictions for myself to keep the lines clear and unblurred. Well, this time was no different. The next morning, I wake up to a 4-page letter. He knows I'm unhappy with him because he's broke, and he hopes I see potential in him. Our co parenting relationship is fractured, and I've ruined romantic relationships forever for him. What is this called? A Hoover? An attempt at love bombing? He also wants me to tell him when I start dating so he can be prepared and his feelings won't be too hurt. He knows I don't owe him that, but he's making the suggestion anyway. WTF. I see this for what it is. He's trying to get me into an emotional back and forth with me. I decided last year to not give him any emotional anything. So my reply to him was straight to the point. I let him know that I am not unhappy with him at all, and our child is thriving. So co-parenting is doing fine. He's thriving because of me. Let's just be real. I told him that I would not be updating him on who and when I date unless they meet our son. That's crossing the line. Our son values him, and that's all that matters. I also told him I won't be addressing these kinds of messages anymore because they pop up every few months, and I'm not professionally equipped to handle his emotions. We've been broken up for over 5 years, but he can't seem to get over it. I don't believe that. I believe it's a ploy to keep me emotionally bound so no other person has room to enter my life. What in the world? At the beginning of the year, he's threatening to delete himself, gets upset when I attempt to get him help, which I didn't want to do, but just in case he was serious. If he was serious, my only thought was my son losing his father. Now, once again, he wants me to see him as a potential life partner. That ship has sailed, burned, and sunk to the deepest depths of the ocean to be crushed into nothingness. I wish he would stop this because it's all a manipulation. He was a horrible romantic partner. I'm not spinning the block on that. So I am so glad that we are sharing these types of stories so that we get these types of responses and understand that you guys can use these types of responses, that you can know and understand when somebody is attempting to manipulate. The hoovering, as in the vacuuming, the sucking back in, and to repeat the cycle. We don't want to do that anymore. The creating of boundaries, the non-emotional responses, the to the pointness. I'm sure that's not a word, but the to the pointness, the boundaries, the being able to say no without an explanation. Because when you give an explanation, that gives them a workaround to try to get around whatever your objection was. So I love this for her. I love because this is my actual friend. I know this person in real life, not just virtually, because her child does deserve to have at least one emotionally, mentally intelligent parent. And I'm glad that she's not being sucked back into this situation. So, like I said, this is called My Baby He Shole Can't Live Here. If you guys have any story times for me, you can send them to my Instagram. I'm Bourbon Bougie over there, and I do have a Reddit page where you can put story times there as well. All right, jump in the comments. Let me know what you think about this one. Don't forget to like, comment, share. Oh, one more thing. If you were not around when I first did this post, you can just click into it if you're on TikTok. And if you're on my YouTube page, I'm just going to put the old post on the back end. That way you don't have to go looking for the post. All right, now like, comment, and share. So this story time is from a friend. She actually typed it up for me. It's called He Shole Can't Live With Me. That's the name of the story time. He Shole Can't Live With Me. She says, so earlier last month, my son's father told me he was behind on his rent and had 30 days to catch up or his lease works would be terminated. My antennas went up immediately, but really all I could do was shake my head. He's been getting evicted from places since before I met him. He's the reason I have an eviction on my record. I, not knowing he moved this way, moved in with him. A little over 2 years later, I'm with him holding our infant in civil court as the judge gives us a certain number of days to clear the apartment we shared. It was over for me right then and there. This was the third eviction I witnessed since living with him. Another story for another day. I'm still forgiving myself for even getting involved with him. Fast forward to present time, and he's talking about how he's behind on rent. That makes sense. He hasn't held a stable job for over 5 years. I suggested he reach out to family and friends about his apartment issue, then left it alone. This week, he's ready to end it all and take himself out. He's closing in on the time limit he had to gather his back rent and had concerned about ending up on the street again. So he's sending me cryptic messages about ending it all and me having to come claim his belongings. I attempted to remind him he has a son to live for, but that must not have been the response he was looking for. I'm not a therapist, so I told him to call the Unaliving Yourself hotline. I didn't know what else to do. What I did know was he was not about to stay with me. 1, I'm never living with another man. 2, I'm finally getting back to pouring into myself, which will benefit me and my child. Nobody is messing that up. Anyway, I reach out to his dad and tell him what homeboy is saying and that he should call and check on his son. The next day, this fool blows up my phone talking about how he can't tell me anything because I called his dad. He also said that if he was really going to take himself out, I wouldn't know in advance. I find out afterwards. How he wishes I would have talked to him directly instead of calling his dad, and he can't confide in me anymore. It reminded me of the Darvo video you just did. Denied that he told me he was about to unalive himself or that he was serious enough to contact his family. Attacked me for trying to get help. Reversed it as if I did something to him. He put himself in the victim role, claiming I committed the offense against him. I love how Homegirl just came in and gave us an example of Darvo in her story time. I appreciate my girl for doing that. For anybody that does not know what Darvo is a manipulation tactic, and she just explained to you exactly what it is. This is when somebody does something to you or says something, and then you're like, you know what, you just did X, Y, and Z. I find that to be offensive. I do not like that. And they're like, what? I didn't do that. And then they attack you like, how dare you say that I did that? And I am the victim of this. You are offending me. You are bullying me. That's what Darvo is. If you see this or feel this, understand that this is a manipulation tactic. Okay, let's get back to her story. But let me move out the way. Y'all can screenshot that if you need it. Okay, so she continues with, what my best friend and I realized is that he was probably hoping I would offer up my home to him. Not effing happening. I went through a lot to get a nice apartment after having an eviction on my record. With him claiming he wasn't serious about threatening his life, I can only assume he was looking for a certain response and didn't get it. He still hasn't come up with the money or figured out what he's going to do. I'm mentally preparing for him to pop up unannounced. Whatever he does, I hope he finds his way because he is not staying with me. Exactly. This this is how women get these evictions on their record. Because this woman, I know this woman, I've known her for years. She works hard, she is responsible, but she moved in with this person and she didn't know that he was irresponsible. She didn't know that he was going to quit his job and then not take on steady employment despite having the capacity to work. He does have the capacity to work. And now she understands. She's learned from her mistakes. She's cleaned up her credit. She has moved on. She is rebuilding. I have watched her go through this process of leveling up with her child. So this is what we have to do. We make mistakes, we self-correct, and we don't go back to that. That's the reason why this is titled, He Shole Can't Live With Me. Repeat that. He Shole Can't Live With Me. This grown man is not your problem. He has a family. He just doesn't want to go to them. He Shole can't live with me. All right, you guys go ahead, chime in. Let me know if you have any story times you want to share. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.